Welcome. My name is Jan Bellermann and I'm from the Conscious Leadership Academy. And today I'm speaking to William Miller. Welcome, William.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for being here, William. William did a lot of research about spiritual-based leadership in the past decades. And he's summarizing it for us in his new journey called Reclaiming the Soul of Leadership. And that is a journey that is coming in two parts. It is a foundation and an integration. And basically, this is a personal exploration for spiritually inclined leaders. So, William, I personally know many leaders who are spiritual, but they practice this more at home and they don't bring it to work.
Mhm.
So, can you tell us why spirituality is so important and what does it add to our understanding of leadership?
Certainly. And it's so understandable that people may feel that split between I'm spiritual here, but at work, it's a different environment, a different climate. I don't want to cause tensions or problems and so on. And actually, people, let me back up for a second that people could be in very different places about spirituality. That's one. Another one is, well, I like being spiritual, but will it help me be more successful? Another one is, um, how can I really integrate my spirituality into my day-to-day work? Another one could be, well, I feel in touch with people and nature and humanity, but I wouldn't call that spiritual. Or another one could be, well, I'm spiritual. In fact, my whole life is, and so work is just a natural expression of my spirituality. And all of those are welcoming starting places to go. Just a second. All of those are we welcome all of those as a starting place because when we're expressing ourselves in work, we've known for a long, long time that when a person is real, when they're authentic, when you can really trust them that what they think is what they say and what they say is what they do, and they have a real presence about them that's not masked by the fear of showing up for who they are, that those are the leaders that we start to gravitate to. We feel like we can even be co-leaders with them. And this is a powerful display of true leadership, not just by what you do or what your rank is or your position is, but it's who you are. And the big question then is not just how can I be spiritual at work, it's how can I be my authentic, true self at work?
Hmm.
And in the research that we've done, you referred to, with senior executives from 15 different countries telling their stories about their spirituality candidly, openly, and telling stories about how that influenced and guided how they run their businesses. You'll notice that some people do it implicitly. They don't talk about it a whole lot. They're not trying to convince anybody of it. It's just their values that are based and grounded in that deeper sense of we're spiritual beings having this human experience. And so by welcoming all these different starting points, it really gets back to what you said. It's a personal exploration in this program, meaning we don't, we all have our different experiences of what spirituality is for us. And when we come together here, it's to simply welcome and embrace the diversity. We do not teach any particular definition of what spirituality is or any particular practice. It's just spirituality is what you have it to be in your life. And how can you explore how to bring what's meaningful to you into how you live fully day to day, but especially when you come to work? And how can that impact that?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, William. Basically, do you believe, or out of your research, do you believe that leaders will be more successful in their career if they are spiritual?
Well, when we're interviewing and talking to senior executives, there's a senior VPs, managing directors, CEOs, board members, chairman, chairwoman of the board. They're successful by earthly or by worldly standards. There's a lot that goes into that. So we are not trying to say, gee, if you're spiritual, you'd be more successful. But we are able to show time and again that you can be spiritual and be successful at the same time. That's the biggest doubt that many people have. Can I be spiritual and be successful in my work? And so that is what we focus on, that you can bring those two worlds together and live them wholeheartedly and just as a whole human being.
Excellent. So what will the participants take away when they sign up for your foundation course?
Well, in the foundation course, we take them through three faculties of a spiritual based leader that we've seen time and again and make recordings about and so on. The first is helping people really get clear, what is my spiritual view of life? And can I put it into a short theme? Something that I can carry around and bring into the moment of a meeting, for example. Is it something like love your neighbor, or love people as you would like to be treated, treat them that same way? That can be a spiritual theme. It could be recognizing the innate divinity of all beings. Whatever it is, what is it for you? And that's the first grounding, just becoming more clear and having a supportive, safe, trusted space to explore that without fear of judgment, without fear of anything other than we're supporting each other to go in deeper into their own selves. The second thing is to then explore that spirituality more from the inside out. What are some steps or some issues to look at that often get away, very deep ones in our societies? Just for example, so many of us have grown up with, at some version, I'm not enough, or I'm not inherently valued. And I'm always trying to prove myself. My life is about showing people that I am worth something, or that I could be esteemed, whatever. In that rat race of trying to prove yourself, which I think runs a lot of the global economy, by the way, but that gets in the way of that other kind of authentic leadership that we talked about, full-hearted. So we go into those a little bit more deeply and say, how is it that we can see through that, rise above it, however you want to talk about that? How can we grow in a way that we understand the inherent value of each person, myself included, and that we can somehow move beyond that kind of judgmental attitude that causes so much friction and so much tension and so much stress and so much lost productivity, if you want to put it that way. So we go into that kind of nurturing your own growth from the inside out. The third part of the foundation course is to say, now, how do I take that into my leadership? And one of the easiest ways to do that is to focus on values. Values is a common conversation. Question is, where are your spiritual values coming from? And if you look at it, we also call them human values, because these qualities of good character, like truth, caring, aspiring for the good of others, all those kinds of values are both spiritual, but they're also found in cultures across time. That we can see that actually the human species has a DNA of good values that often get clouded over, distrusted, given up on, etc. Gee, if I'm that way, I'm going to lose, whatever. And so we say, as you focus on your values drawn from your spiritual deep inner self, you can bring values implicitly into your leadership, in some cases explicitly, but use your own discernment about how that is. And then we look to kind of celebrate that evolution and how do we ground that part of the foundation. Mm. And so that's the basic setup of the journey in the first of the two courses.
Yeah. Thank you, William. Who would you recommend to join? Who could benefit from these courses? And one of the questions I often could imagine is, do they already need to be part of some spiritual course or path or something like
that? No, and it comes a bit back to something I said earlier, that a person could be spiritually inclined without having fully developed a practice or a home base for themselves, history, whatever. Just the inclination about, I'm curious about that is enough. I'd like to see where this can take me, not just in the consciousness raising, but in the leadership side as well. I want to know what's the practical side of living this way that I can personally experience, but experience both within myself, my whole feeling about life, but also my feeling about others, the workplace, and so on. And I'll come back for a moment to these interviews. One thing that each person did that we interviewed was to talk about, first of all, here's my spiritual view of life. Here's my theme. Here's how I nurture it in myself. But now let's get into some stories. One story would be about, how do I handle a union difficulty? Another one about, how did I downsize a business? Another one is, how did we decide on a different way of growing the business in a different direction? These kinds of, how do I deal with rewards and incentives? How do I deal with quality and productivity issues? And they would say, from my spiritual theme, this is how it informed me and guided me. And so telling those stories is another part of what we do, is grounded in, you're probably already doing this more than you recognize. And it's just being able to see it more clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, William. It sounds exciting. And I think if you are interested as well, you are very welcome to join here. What I take away, this will expand your worldview and you learn how to put your spirituality to work. And so thank you very much, William, for being with us. And we meet sometime soon to talk about the second part of the course.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's a great pleasure having this conversation.